My name is Rachel Moore. I am 29 years old. At my husband's family gathering, his mother stood up and pointed at my son, said he was not their blood, said I had brought shame into their house. Then she looked at me and said, "Take your child and leave." I was still holding him when she said it. I wiped my tears, sat back down, and waited, because 20 minutes earlier, I had made a phone call. Before I tell you who walked through that door, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and tell me your country in the comments. Now, let's begin. James and I had been married for 3 years, a real marriage, the kind built slowly from ordinary things. Evening walks, inside jokes, a son named Noah who had just turned 2 and approached every single day like it contained something worth discovering. I had never doubted us, until the Sunday James's mother called a family gathering. The call came on a Friday. James answered. His expression shifted while he listened. When he hung up, "Mom wants everyone over Sunday. She says it's important." Something in his voice, not cold, not warm, careful. What kind of important? She didn't say. He didn't meet my eyes. I let it go. I shouldn't have. Sunday arrived. James's parents' house was full when we got there. His brother Carter and his wife, his sister Melanie, 2 aunts, 3 cousins, everyone already seated. The living room arranged in a way that felt deliberate, chairs facing one direction, a center space, like a stage or a courtroom. Noah held my hand as we walked in. He waved at people with his whole arm the way toddlers do. Nobody waved back. James's mother, Patricia, stood near the fireplace. She had always been a composed woman, measured, deliberate, the kind of person who chose every word before she said it. She looked at James first, then at me, then at Noah. Her expression when she looked at Noah was the thing I should have run from, but I didn't understand it yet. Patricia spoke for several minutes, about family, about blood, about what it meant to carry a name. I listened, waiting for whatever was coming. It came. She reached into the folder on the side table beside her, placed a document in the center of the room. "We had a test done," she said, "on Noah." The room went very still. "Without my permission," I said. "We have concerns," she said, "and we needed answers. Those are my son's medical records. They are test results," she said, "that show this child is not James's son." James looked at the document. His face did something I couldn't read. Carter crossed his arms. Melanie looked at the floor. The aunts exchanged a look. Patricia picked up the document, read the key line aloud. The number. 0% probability. "I have never been unfaithful to your son," she said. "The test says otherwise. The test is wrong. They do. There are documented cases of—" "Enough." Patricia's voice cut through the room. She looked at Noah, then at me. Her finger pointed. "Take your child and get out of this house." Noah looked up at me. He didn't understand the words, but he understood the room. His hand tightened around my fingers. I looked at James, standing near the window, silent. The same silence he had been maintaining since Friday, the silence of a man who knew this was coming and brought me here anyway. I looked at Patricia, at the document in her hand, at the room full of people who had already decided, and I sat back down. Patricia blinked. I said, "I heard you," I said. "You need to leave." "I will," I said, "in a few minutes." "Now." "In a few minutes," I said again. I reached into my bag, took out my phone, dialed. 1 ring. "It's Rachel. You can come in now." I ended the call, looked up at Patricia. "Someone is coming," I said. "I'd like you to hear what they have to say. This is a private family matter." "Yes," I said. "It is." The room waited. Patricia's composure held, but something underneath it shifted. The particular shift of someone who has been certain and has just sensed that certainty may be standing on something unstable. 4 minutes passed. The doorbell rang. Melanie answered it automatically. A man stepped inside. Late 40s, professional, carrying a leather briefcase. He looked around the room calmly, found me, walked toward me. "Mrs. Moore," he said, "I came as quickly as I could." "Thank you for coming, Dr. Marsh." Patricia frowned. "Who is this?" Dr. Marsh turned to her. "My name is Dr. Robert Marsh," he said. "I'm a specialist in pediatric genetics at Northwestern Medicine." The room shifted. "I've been Noah's physician since birth," he said, "and I understand there are questions about a paternity test that was recently conducted." "We have the results right here," Patricia said, holding up the document. 0% probability. Dr. Marsh looked at it, nodded slowly. "May I ask which laboratory conducted this test?" Patricia named it. Something moved across Dr. Marsh's expression. "I see," he said. He opened his briefcase, placed his own documents on the coffee table. "That laboratory," he said, "had its accreditation suspended by the Illinois Department of Public Health 14 weeks ago." The silence was different now. Patricia looked at the document. Carter leaned forward. "Suspended," James said quietly. "For procedural violations," Dr. Marsh said, "including improper sample handling and chain of custody failures. Their results from the past 6 months are considered unreliable and are not admissible in any legal proceeding." He placed a second document on the table. "I took the liberty," he said, "of ordering an independent test through a fully accredited laboratory with Mrs. Moore's consent, using verified samples." He looked at Patricia. "The results came back this morning." He placed the final document on the table. 99.998% probability of paternity. Noah was James's son, had always been James's son. Nobody spoke for a long time. Patricia looked at the document, then at Noah. Noah, who had climbed onto my lap during Dr. Marsh's explanation and was now leaning against my chest, looking at the room with complete calm. The particular calm of a 2-year-old who has decided the adults are being boring. Patricia's composure finally broke. Not dramatically, quietly, the way things break when they have been held too tightly for too long. She sat down, her hand over her mouth. "I didn't know," she said, "about the laboratory." "No, you didn't." "Rachel, you didn't know about the laboratory, but you chose to conduct a test on my son without my knowledge, without my consent, and then you stood in front of your entire family and pointed at him." She looked at Noah. "He is 2 years old, and you pointed at him." Nobody in the room said anything, because there was nothing to say. Dr. Marsh gathered his documents. "I'll leave copies for your records," he said. He looked at me. "Call the office if you need anything else." He left. The door closed quietly behind him. Carter crossed the room, stood in front of me. He looked at Noah. Noah looked back at him. "Duh," Noah said. James closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, "I should have stopped this," he said. "Yes," I said. "You should have." "I didn't know she had ordered a test." "You knew something was coming," I said. "You knew on Friday, and you brought us here anyway." He had no answer, because there wasn't one. I stood up, settled Noah on my hip, looked around the room one last time, at Carter's crossed arms now hanging loose at his sides, at Melanie looking at the floor, at the aunts who had watched everything and said nothing, at Patricia, still sitting, looking at her hands, at the document she had held up 40 minutes ago, now face down on the coffee table. "I'm going home," I said. "Rachel," James started, "with my son. Let me come." "Not tonight." I walked to the door. Noah waved at the room over my shoulder, his whole arm, the way he always waved. Nobody waved back. But this time, it didn't matter. James came the next morning, alone. He sat across from me at our kitchen table and talked. Not explained, not justified, talked. about his mother, about the pattern he had grown up in, about how her certainty had always felt like the floor beneath him and how he had never learned to stand without it. She had concerns, he said. She came to me a month ago, said she had noticed things, said she had doubts. And you believed her? I didn't know what to believe. So you said nothing to me? I thought if the test came back clear, it would have been fine. Yes. And if it hadn't? He looked at the table. James. He looked up. If it hadn't come back clear, what would you have done? He didn't answer immediately. That pause was its own answer. I need you to understand something, I said. This isn't about the test. The test was wrong. We know that now. I know. This is about the fact that your mother had doubts about your son, and your response was to let her test him in secret and bring us to that room. He looked at Noah playing on the kitchen floor. I know, he said again. Knowing isn't enough, I said. What do you need? I need you to decide, I said, whether I am your family or whether I am a guest in your mother's family that you bring along. He sat with that for a long moment. You are my family, he said. Then act like it, I said. He went to therapy, started the week after. We went together twice a month. Patricia called once, left a voicemail, said she had been wrong, said she was sorry, said it simply, without performance. For her, that was a great deal. Noah is 3 now. He still approaches every day like it contains something worth discovering. He does not know what happened in his grandparents' living room on a Sunday afternoon when he was 2. He knows his father picks him up from daycare on Tuesdays. He knows his grandmother sends cards with too many stickers on them. He knows his mother holds his hand when rooms feel uncertain. That is enough. That is everything. I think about that moment sometimes. Patricia's finger pointing, Noah's hand tightening around mine, and the decision to sit back down, to make one call, to wait, because I had learned something growing up that served me well that Sunday afternoon. The truth does not need to be loud, it just needs to arrive at the right moment, with the right documentation and a doctor who answers his phone on a Sunday. If this story gave you strength today, like and subscribe. New story every week. Comment your country below. Share with someone who needs to hear this.